Hello, students. Michael Sanchez here. Thank you so much for watching. In this class, we're going to be covering the topic of the introduction to the violin. So maybe some of you guys out there have never played before and interested in joining the violin community. So a lot of the students that we have in today's class that are watching are violinists, but some also are just interested in learning and starting up again. Maybe they don't have an instrument yet. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to start the process. Certainly, it takes a lot of technique when you're first starting. Violin is, considered one of the harder instruments to learn. But once you learn it, it really is a lot of fun. And, if you really get a good grasp of the fundamentals, it makes a big difference, going forward. So I really believe once you grasp those fundamentals, it's not so hard, going forward as hard as if you don't have the fundamentals. So that's kind of why it's considered one of the tougher instruments. I started playing the violin when I was 4 years old. I'm 28 years old now, so quite a few years. I did the Suzuki method and kind of grew up learning through orchestras and in college. And once I turned about 20 years old, I started doing more fiddle, and that's a lot of fun. Violin and fiddle are the same instrument, just differs in how you play it. So lots of opportunities of different songs you can play, different styles you can play on the violin and fiddle. So definitely recommend that you guys, if you guys are kind of on the fence whether to try it or not, I think you guys would have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of adult students. I would say about 25 adults that come to me on a weekly basis, and each of them, a lot of them started from scratch, not knowing anything. So even if you've never played a musical instrument before, you can learn how to play the violin, believe it or not. So yeah, any age. Some people think you can only learn violin at a young age, and that's absolutely not true. I pretty much tell people it's all about interest level. If you really want to learn how to play the violin, that's half the battle, and that's the most important thing. Everything else will fall into place, but you will need patience through the process. Thornton, would you like to comment on that? Thornton's a violin teacher that lives down in Nashville, and he actually is a published author, and he's going to be kind of telling us a little bit about his thoughts on what we just talked about. How you doing, Thornton?
Great. It's an honor to be a part of this group. And well, first of all, I started piano when I was 5 because a lot of times, I'm not saying you have to go through this route, but a lot of teachers, probably 90% or more, agree that piano is a really good basic instrument to start with. You can always go from there to many other instruments. But that really helped me a lot. I give credit to starting the piano at 5. But then I went to the violin in the 4th grade in public school. Is that how you did, Michael? Public school? Or no? You
actually went through Christian school. We started violin at at 6th grade. But before that, I obviously just took private lessons.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually am certified in the Suzuki method, but I also a traditional teacher. So I kind of did it backwards, basically. Like I didn't study Suzuki until college. I was trained in Suzuki violin method in all books up to book 10. I'm certified or registered with the Suzuki Association of Americas in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, and you can look that up and everything to verify that. And I studied with Anastasia Gemplis, who was one of the top Suzuki teachers. She was actually a Suzuki teacher assistant to Dr. Suzuki himself, and I actually had a workshop with Dr. Suzuki, whole day workshop, which was an honor to work with him and everything. But I can't really say I studied with them, like per se, like private lessons and everything. But anyway, I guess I'd say I was introduced by a man that came around and played all these different instruments, string instruments, and I said, I want to play the violin. And I agree with you. The violin is easy to play, but very difficult to master. Would you say, you see what I'm saying? It's a difficult instrument to master. And it's really valuable if you can study a musical instrument, because a musical instrument makes you smarter. And there's statistics to back it up. There's studies that show that people improve at least 25% or more that have studied for 2 years or more on an instrument, particularly violin. That's called the Mozart effect. You know what I'm saying? And you actually improve. They improve in language skills and in mathematical skills. And again, the other thing is, it's never too late to study. You can study at any age. Peter Holt, you're familiar? Everybody familiar with the book Peter Holt? Never Too Late. It's
Yes.
Never too late. You are?
Yes.
It's a remarkable story. I know he's a cellist, but it's still a remarkable story. Everybody, if they'd like to be inspired, that is a remarkable story, because he started, like, I think he was in his 60s or late 50s, something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
But he became very successful at it. He became, I believe, if I read it correctly, he was the principal cellist of the Philadelphia Orchestra. So he's very, but everybody, poo-pooed and said to him that you can't do this. You're no dexterity, and you just can't, at that age, you just don't no elasticity and all that. So, but he proved them all wrong. Then, he started practicing like 3 or 4 hours a day and really became passionate about it. So.
Thank you, Thornton. Next, I'd like to talk to Stephen. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. So yeah, the topic is Introduction to the Violin. Any thoughts, comments to add to the discussion?
Yeah, I always breathe a sigh of relief when I get those beginning students who have already had some piano training. It gives us a vocabulary that they already understand. I myself started out on the piano, just plunking around for a few years, and then started taking lessons on it when I was about 6. And that lasted all the way up through about age 16 or 17, and I became pretty good at that. But along the way, attending concerts and shows, I became pretty fascinated with the activities of an orchestra. And so something hit me in the head, and I just said, I'm going to study the violin. And I did that at about age 14, which everyone who encountered me said, oh, that's too late. And speaking of personality profiles, they said, oh, that's too late. You can't do that. And that's all I need to hear are the magic words. You can't do that. And I will be all over it.
Well, you apparently definitely got all over it, becoming such a great violinist. Congratulations.
Well, I had a little bit of confidence as well as ignorance about the demands of the violin. The confidence was that I already had some good grounding in practice and that kind of discipline, and then also note reading and harmony and rhythm. So all of these things are just were part of my training so far. And then I said to myself, how difficult could it be? It only plays one note at a time. Well, I found out that it was pretty difficult, actually. But I persisted, and I did that pretty hard, and I knew enough to go to some pretty high quality teachers right away. And so within about 2 years, I joined right away. What I did was I started taking lessons so that I could join the school orchestra and the string orchestra, and it just really became something I knew within probably about a year that this is something I want to do professionally. And I guess we all kind of wish that we had been some sort of super prodigy from the beginning, but I would ask that question of my teachers all the time. Do you think I could be a professional and do this? And I never got that glowing, why, absolutely. They'd always make that face, I just don't, maybe if you really worked, I don't know. And so, luckily I stayed at it pretty hard. And within my first 2 years of playing violin, I was at all state level in the orchestra. And I went to the Shepherd School at Rice University as a performance major. And so it was pretty fast track. But I did find out along the way that, like you said, it's easy to play, hard to master.
Absolutely. Well, certainly getting you guys' advice really helps students out there. So thank you guys so much for joining us, Stephen and Thornton. Really hope to have you guys on some future classes. Really hope to just influence the violin world and provide content and instruction to help everybody out there to progress and, just provide all the help and tips that everybody needs to master the instrument. Although it takes time, it definitely is possible, and patience, I think, like I said at first, is the biggest thing. most students, they're not happy maybe where they're at after a certain amount of time, and they get frustrated. So I think patience is important because it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint. If it's a sprint, it's basically, you can maybe, spend all nights, working on the instrument and hope to master it tomorrow. And, although that works with studying, that doesn't work with playing the violin. So I just really encourage you guys to have patience. That's really important. Do we have any questions from the audience? We have about 13 students here in the class right now. Would love to get you guys involved. If you have a question, feel free to text or raise your hand on video. We're going to put the gallery view here on if you guys have any questions at all for any of the instructors. Gallery view, anybody? Great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been a great class, Introduction to the Violin. We will be doing a couple more videos here tonight, and feel free to email me if you guys have any questions, rivertownviolin@hotmail.com, and this will be posted on YouTube. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, Michael.